Hello.
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 All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
I thought that was the
Wait,
intro.
wait. No. That's not the intro. that could be like a fucking blooper reel or some shit.
Perfect.
All right. Hello, internet. What is up? It's your dude, Speedkicks. I am here with the first and potential only episode of This Is Not a Podcast, featuring YouTube extraordinaire PhiDX.
Hello, that's me.
Yeah, that's him right there. And you guys will find out why it's called Not a Podcast in a little bit. But basically, I just wanted to have a good conversation with our friend PhiDX as much as he'd let me, and talk about, I guess, his year with Tekken 8, because this game just came out and you guys didn't know about him before. Now you do. Some of you did. Some of you guys are OG, but a lot of people, started hearing about him after he started dropping the magical tutorials for you guys. So, Phi, how you feeling about Tekken 8, man?
You caught me at a good time because I feel like my mood and overall outlook is on the rise. But certainly for the past, month-ish, I feel like ever since they announced the stage that we had to pay for, even if we had the season pass, even though I was kind of like, if I were just a fan, I would have been like, this is kind of whack, but whatever. But I think the fact that I'm exposed to so many people who have stronger opinions about it, or who are very vocal about their frustration, bleeds into my worldview, or like bleeds into my mood. So I was feeling pretty negative about it for a while. And that's even before I started getting a lot of direct targeted hate, as if that were my agenda to sell a paid stage.
Wait, hold on. So you were getting targeted hate for the stage?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the logic there? Like, how do they what? Okay, so you've been reading the hate. So did it really track logically, right? Like, did you understand what was going on, or like?
I understand how it started, I think, because when they announced the patch and they did that Tekken talk, I have a goal of turning those 2.5 hour, basically their live podcast, into a 30-minute summary. So when I watched it, I didn't sit down and watch the whole thing. I put it on like 2x speed, took notes, and then like I wanted to catch any nuances in translation or little like funny interactions I could talk about. So I got an abridged version, and because I was so focused on recapping, I blew past the stage news. I was like, you have to, okay, stage whatever. And then I was like, look at all these things they're fixing. They're adding this group practice mode. They're adding these new practice tools, like the health. You can see how much chip damage you do. I was like nerding out about all the like cool things you could fix. So I titled the video, "They're Fixing Everything." And then when I released it, everybody locked in on the negative news, and they saw the title and the thumbnail. They saw my face, like big grin, like they're fixing everything in a patch that was perceived as ruining the game further, right? So I think that video started it, and then there were other creators making videos like parodying that title and like making fun of that patch. And since then, I get I get comments on almost every video calling me like, you're a shill, you're paid, like stop ruining the game, stuff like that, like directed on my videos.
Okay. So that is a crazy bit of bad luck, because when I went over so I don't watch second talks. I am that's your job. So when I knew about the patch, it was when they dropped the patch notes. And I looked at the patch notes and I was like, wow, this is a really good patch.
Yeah.
Like I was a big fan of like everything in the patch. And then I got the game, and Heihachi came out. I enjoyed the patch, and then Heihachi, like we had Heihachi, and I was having a good time. Like, okay, cool, let's play Heihachi. He looks really cool. And then I went to character select, and the stage was locked. And that's when I was like, oh, this is kind of whack, right? And then I tweeted about it.
Right.
Now, I, unlike you, had the freedom to not have to immediately rush and say the things I saw about the patch.
Right.
If I were content creating at that point in time, I think like most human beings, the first thing I noticed was, yo, there's a whole lot of good stuff in this patch.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is sick. I would have been under the same, you know what I mean? I would have got hit the exact same way because my dumbass would not have said shit about the stage because I wouldn't have known.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
it wouldn't have even been on my mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's unfortunate, but you're having a good time now?
I'm having a good time now, yeah. In addition to coaching Maximilian, dude, which was actually tons of fun. Probably one of the most, I think, unique coaching experiences I've done because he plays so many fighting games. I've also had newer perspective on how I want to play Lily since we had our coaching session, and like the idea of learning offense without guardrails, especially coming from a Tekken 7 sword character. Learning defense without or offense without guardrails is a really cool way to approach the game. And what was funny is as I was saying that, I was catching myself thinking, am I being too enthusiastic about Tekken
8? That's so crazy. You got like a thing in your head now that's like, I can't get too hype about this game because people will say my hype is fake. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, for the purpose of this not a podcast, I need you to throw that out the window. Okay?
Yes.
Because I need you to exit content creator mode and enter like you're not PhiDX, you're Phi.
I'm nerd mode. All right.
Yeah. Just be a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
Because and it's about to get super fucking nerdy because I have something I wanted to ask you about. Because I am a person who likes talking about whatever my current brain, whatever my brain is most currently occupied by, right? So there was a point in time where I was always tweeting about Tekken and people were like, wow, this guy's always thinking about Tekken. He's like the Jada Smith of Tekken or something. He's always got something to say. Right? I had to work hard to break that moniker. Yeah, so right now what I'm doing most of my time on Tekken is coaching, right?
Right.
And I'm a nerd about that. So you said you were coaching Maximilian, dude. For those who don't know, Phi's doing he's helping Maximilian, dude, the big content creator. You guys know him, the fighting game guy. He is helping him learn Lars in Tekken 8. So you said you were having a kind of a fun time coaching him on that.
Yeah.
Because I can kind of imagine, right? Like when you're teaching people who already have some fighting game experience.
Yeah.
Well, first, let me hear your
yeah. So there were off the top of my head, I think there were 2 to 3 main components that were really cool. So, one, he has a history of the arcades, so he's not coming. And I don't want to sound derogatory, not just because people are listening, but in general, he doesn't have this new age online gaming perspective where his investment is in the rank, his investment is in the appearance of his skill. He has this very old head thing where he's like, if this is stupid, I'm gonna do it. and he also has this perspective really early on. He's like, I'm ranking up and down, but I feel myself getting better, which was immediately okay, that's cool, because then I don't have to play the coaching part of managing expectations or managing what is a realistic progression depending on how it's going. So he did all that himself. Add on top of that the kind of natural Yomi I think a multi-fighting game player has. It was a really cool process. So my process was it was funny because I remember DMing you do you think this is a good process? And I got aired. Right. So but it built confidence in my ability to coach. So I opened with just giving him, I'm like, all right, these are a bunch of Lars frame traps. You run these, people have to follow the rules of the road or they die, right? And that did 2 things. One, he started winning, and 2, he had this issue of wanting to just do moves because he's a content creator, or he's like, oh, maybe this is a good thing to do. Giving him a preset this is solid turned that off. So he got to focus on what is solid and what kind of approach does his opponent have to beating that. So when you combine this balanced mental approach, these realistic expectations he had himself, and then the application of here are the rules of the road for Tekken, now add your fighting game knowledge in, it wasn't just smooth, because he did lose a lot to a lot of knowledge checks and stuff like that. But I think it was enlightening to see how Tekken 8 is really challenging for newcomers, regardless of your fighting game experience. So all three of those things made it really cool to me.
So you got to see him run. Okay, so I think honestly, I think Tekken 8 is harder for new like non-Tekken players than Tekken 7 was.
Yes.
Because you got to get up in there.
Yeah.
Right? You got to get real close. You got to start throwing hands. And if someone comes with a string that beats everything, like the first hit of the string beats everything, and then the second hit is duckable and launchable. If you can't duck and launch it, then you're just dying, right?
Yeah.
So the knowledge checks become like a super big deal, right?
And yeah, because I think sorry, I just wanted to add to that. I think that Tekken 7 enabled a guy like me who doesn't lab a lot to ignore a lot of fake Tekken offense and like stick to things that are really consistently good. And where I find the challenge in 8 is like there's no backdash that lets you ignore half of the strings. They added true string mix-ups. Think of like Law back to 1 versus Junkyard, right? So there's no longer like, not only do you have to get your hands dirty, you gotta get past these very real new offensive things.
Bro, I hate those things. I'm sorry.
I do too.
On a tangent for a second. What do they really think they're accomplishing by adding the strings, right? So like they're like, yeah, if we give these players some strings that are like hard 50-50s, then anyone can do mix. Do you understand how much harder this game gets for a noob if any other noob can do real mix?
Yeah. And
do you know how good you have to beat those?
Combine that with the fact that visually Tekken, I believe, has started losing the art of visual clarity. Immediate example I have is Lee's Power Crush. That kick looks like a mid. That's a high, right? and they've gotten really liberal with designing good looking moves and then assigning the properties after. So I can't like coach Lily Pichu, who is trying to fight against Arena, and be like, okay, that punch leads to 2 more hits, but that punch leads to 3 more hits, but that one's plus, that one's minus. When to a noob, and even honestly to me, first time fighting Reina, they all look the same.
Listen, bro. I won't lie to you. On like the first day of the game coming out, I was like, okay, let me lab all the new characters, right? And then I do my thing. I go through the move list. I like look at them. I'm like, okay, cool. This is unsafe. Let me do my punish trading. I got to Reina, and I was like, I'm not doing this until I play this character. Like I can't visually recognize this, so I'm just gonna wait until whatever.
Right, and I usually, I have really thick glasses. I have a history of nearsightedness. If you are telling me that it was difficult for you to see, I feel vindicated. I'm like, yeah, that shit is hard to see.
Yeah, no, I was like, let me just, nah, this is not happening right now, bro. So yeah, so they, a lot of the stuff they're adding to this game is making it, I think, hard for kind of the good players and the do players. But like you said, you saw a couple different things. Was it just the knowledge checks, or like the strings and stuff, or what?
In terms of Tekken 8 or coaching Max?
Yeah, as far as coaching Max, like what he was struggling with.
Oh, so he so we had 3 sessions. Day 3 is where we got to the topic of zookeeping. But prior to that, he kind of approached. It was like watching Tekken 6 gameplay, I'm not going to lie. He would play this distance, and he would dash forward and look at what the opponent did. And then he would like dash forward, sidestep, look at what they did. And then they would run in and do their plus frame move, and he'd have to guess. And I was like, okay.
he was trying to play some slow footsies, and this game requires some fast footsies and a guess.
Yeah, he fought a Lily who ran in, did cartwheel, did armor move, cartwheel low sweep, cartwheel extension. And I told him, and then not only was he trying to play like a footsies neutral, he would like sit back and observe their offense to try and see what was necessary, and then maybe let some mashing intuition come in. And it was cooking him. And I told him, look, you're Lars. You have a jab from range 4, and then you have a homing mid if they decide to try to deal with that. So don't joust. You have the bigger spear. Like, just go in. And then after he understood that concept, that was day 2. Day 3, we talked about zookeeping, where he fought like this clear smurf and was actually keeping up. And then the next match was just a dude, I think it was an Elisa, hitting every single button, every armor move, and he got like 6-0'd. And I told him, like, your frame trap failed one time, your 1-1-1 frame trap failed one time, just like do it again. Just do it again, see what happens. And then he started frame trapping over and over and over, and he's like, oh, they will die.
Yes. Yes. It's a game of like picking the high percentage play. If they do the low percentage thing that doesn't work, just run it again.
Yeah. It fails one time. Like, and he picked up on that really quickly, intuitively. So I told him just keep doing it. And then one time he was fighting a Victor. His 1-1-1 got down back forward, and he got counter hit launched and lost like 70% HP. And then he did 1-1-1 again, and it hit. And I was like, did you catch what just happened there? You zoo kept. You kept him honest. And after we kind of drew that identification, I could open a match and tell him like zoo keep or like fight him. And he would adjust within one round, whether it was like a semi-real player versus someone he had to, lay the law down on.
That's the fun part about mid-set coaching, is like when you've like taught the player, you can like tell them what mode to go into. Right. Like,
yeah.
Like, do you remember like in that one grand finals you had versus Joe Crush? I was like, okay, this game play small. Okay, this game play. I'm like, okay, this game play range, right? And like you knew which buttons to press and when you're playing small versus which buttons to press. Like I knew you knew which buttons to press. So it's just a matter of telling you what mode to be in.
Yeah. I think it was a geese grand final or something.
Yes, it was Noctis versus Geese Howard in my life, bro. That was that. It's okay. So anyway, so yeah, bro. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah. So if you can't tell, I have been loving this video game, and I am not a content creator. So my year of Tekken 8 has been mostly pretty good, right? Because the game came out, and first I wasn't expecting to like this game at all,
right?
Because I hated 7.
I was expecting to hate this game too. To be honest,
yeah. Like if you played Tekken 7 Season 3, Season 4, it's like this game they're trolling.
And the 4.5 patch, the new tactics, I'm like, oh, this is looking horrible.
New tactics was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And then they did that beta, and I was like, this game is Kasuge, right? Like this is just awful, right? This is not a real video game. That's what I was thinking when I played the Tekken 8 beta the first time. I was playing Hwoarang. Chip damage was insane. I was doing round start heat activation. There were 2 heat dashes, although I didn't understand heat dashes back then. If I understood heat back then, it would have been crazy. So yeah, it was not good. It wasn't 2 heat dashes. It was, you could do heat burst into heat dash into continue your combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was not looking good at all, bro. And then the game came out, and I wasn't gonna buy it. I don't know. I didn't tell many people that I was not going to buy Tekken 8 when it first came out.
Right.
I got gifted it by AV.
Oh, so fire.
When I got gifted, I was like, okay, well, let's see. I'll play it. Let me log in and play. And then I logged in and I played, and I was like, wait, this game's kind of cooking. It's like Tekken. The sidestep was so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the sidestep is good. This is great. And then there was like no magic forwards, no low parry tailspin, and then they nerfed the heat stuff I was doing with Hwoarang in the beta, and the right foot forward, down forward 3 was no longer +6 on block. And I was like, wait, it's kind of like a real game, right?
now I think for the sake of a listener who more listens to me, when you say real game,
right?
I think most people who haven't talked to you for a while or listened to you for a while won't know what that means.
Okay.
Do you want to give a spiel on that? Because I have my own understanding of what you mean, but I feel like straight from the...
Oh, no, okay. I'm actually curious. What do you think I mean when I say that?
So we've had lots of conversations about Final Fantasy and JRPGs, and all the way up to like Tetris. And, I'm a Final Fantasy fan. But I see where you're coming from. When I hear you say real game, I think of something that has... many. Let me phrase this properly. You pulled up a Wikipedia article. Let me pull that up real quick.
I pulled up a Wikipedia article?
You did one time, or a definition.
What do I be on, man?
You said a game is a structured type of play usually undertaken for entertainment or fun. That was funny. But key components of games are goals, rules, challenge, and interaction. So I think when we initially started talking and you gave me all your takes on games, I was like, what's this guy talking about? Final Fantasy game. But now I understood that there are crafted experiences in an interactive form, and then there are games where both players are interacting and engaged and kind of navigating around each other's interactions to arrive at the win or the loss. And Tetris is a unique example where it's a single player game, but you're fighting against the speed of the drop. You're fighting against the randomization. You are reacting to what your current state of the board is, right? Like there's factors to consider that cannot be reasonably kind of like algorithmically boiled down to a flowchart or a programmatic response from the human.
Yeah, at a certain point, you got to make a decision actively, right? Like even if you even if you fully have like your Tetris feel, like okay, cool, this is how I'm going to stack into the board. This is what I'm going to do with this, right? Like, and you probably know what you want to do. You probably have to tweak it a little bit. There's probably something off, right?
Right.
Although I wouldn't say like for the viewers, I probably would not mention Tetris for like as a real game if they don't understand what I mean when I say this.
Right.
But you basically got it, right? Let me do the layman's, all right? A game is supposed to be fun. Okay, that's rule number one. Rule number two, a game, like you said, is something with like an objective, and then it's got different rules and things required to actually accomplish that objective, right? When I think of a game that kind of, I'm trying to think, right? Because you kind of gave examples of like what I think a good game is, but I'm trying to think of like what a bad one would be, right? Like a game where you aren't doing much to get to the objective, right? And so when it came to Tekken 7, I know a lot of people listening to this love Tekken 7, probably, okay? I could not get down with that game because I would log into that game, and through having years of defensive training, right, I spent a lot of time just not, knowing that if my opponent attacked me, that's bad for them.
Yeah.
And then I spent a lot of time watching other people who weren't as defensively good as me slowly lose health and then have no way to earn it back.
Right.
And so I was just accumulating health leads and like one poke per 20 minutes, one interaction per 20 seconds, right? And then they would have to force something onto my defense, and then they would just lose.
Yeah.
And that wasn't much gameplay.
Yeah.
So when Tekken 8 came out, and I realized that if I just sat there and I waited, I would get schmixed, right?
You
like you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like you get destroyed, like especially Release. I'm talking Release Dragunov, like QCF4. Like it was you're fighting for your life. You step into the arena and you're fighting for your life. Now all those interactions before you got put on defense, all that neutral game, that actually matters a little bit more, right? Yeah. I actually had to worry about controlling my space. I had to do keep out moves that might have caught me, that might have got me launched on like whiff baits. I had to actively decide when to go forward, because if I didn't actively decide when to go forward, my opponent would go forward more on me, and then I would lose the game, right? So I'm feeling all of this on like day one, and I know that I'm ass at the game.
Right.
So on day one of Tekken 8, I was like, wait, this game might be it. And then I kept playing. I kept learning more and more about the game, and I'm like, okay, cool. There's like clearly some problems here, right? Like, what is Fang Wei doing? What is Dragunov doing? Right? Like yeah. what are these characters doing? But game is sick, and I'm a casual, right? So I'm chilling.
I think that's one thing you said in the beginning is you're not a content creator. I think another crucial detail is that you said multiple times you're not like a sponsored pro.
Yeah,
right? You're not showing up for work getting mixed.
Look, bro. Listen to me. If I was getting paid to play the game, I would prefer to sit down and have the game say Speedkicks win. Like, I just want a win button. I don't even care. Like, oh, hey, I got good defense. I auto win. Cool. Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah.
I'm a pro. If I'm a pro gamer, I don't want this game I don't want anyone to be able to mix me. Right. I don't want it to be this fun.
Yeah. Okay? This is work. This is not a game. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like screw that. All right.
Yeah.
However, in the interest of fun, in the interest of just having a good video game to play, um, it's a it was a pretty good like direction I think for the game, and as as they patched it, it's been getting more and more fun. I even went to a couple tournaments. I did okay at like Evo, got like ninth place.
Where I said, okay, the vast majority of listeners would disagree, but that's I'm a person with high standards for myself. I understand.
Bro.
I understand.
Like I'm a casual, but I still got that old site. Like I didn't get top 8.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't get top 8. Then you don't get top 8. It's like, well, cool, you got ninth place, but I guess
without a training environment, that's pretty impressive.
No
glaze. That was cool.
No glaze. That was a little glaze, but it's fine. We we did a couple. I went to like 2 tournaments before that. I went to like DreamHack to try to warm up. Well, I went to DreamHack to try to qualify because it's like EWC. Then I realized I was ass at playing Tekken in tournament because I hadn't played in a serious tournament for like a long time.
Right, reactivating the tournament skill.
Yeah, that was tough. And then it's also a new game too. So learning how to play the new game, learning how to play the new game in first to 2, learning how to play the new game in first to 2 in tournament. It took a couple tries. At CEO, I still didn't know what I was doing.
Right, looking at Nina, right?
Yeah. I was trying out Nina because I realized Hwoarang is not going to cut it. Like, I don't think solo maining Hwoarang is a good idea for anyone who's trying to really win something.
I think solo maining a non-top 5 is pretty hard in this game too.
Yeah.
Like even Mulgold leaving Claudio to pick Fang.
Yeah, you sometimes need to have the big guns.
Yeah. I needed my whack-ass Steve for GDCR. I hit some, they won't know the Avum tech, but I hit some instant full crouch down for 2. I hit some raw Shoryuken. I was like, all right, first to 2.
Sometimes you just do it to him in a first to 2. That's what's required.
Yeah.
Right? So I had to like adjust to the game again. And now since Evo, I haven't really been practicing myself, but I've been doing a whole lot of coaching.
Right.
And coaching is really cool because I'm a learning nerd, right? So yes. I think the concept of like those like the learning process is really cool, and I really dive deep into my own over the years through the game,
right?
And then I get to help people with theirs, and you get to see all different types of learning processes. You get to see when you're coaching people is actually really cool because you get to see types of learners you didn't know existed, right? There are people who just like there's like a different combinations of like, this guy feels out, but he thinks about these things, and you're like, how does that work? And then you can make it work still. You just have to tailor your explanations and tailor like how you give them information to how they learn,
right?
And then you do that, and then usually what happens is they get beat up a little bit because they're trying to implement something new, and then after they get beat up a little bit, they come back with like a screenshot of like their newest rank peak, or they come back like, yeah, I just beat these dudes in like top 3 of my local, like. So I'm simultaneously like indulging myself in my learning nerdisms, and then also I'm helping people have more fun with the game.
Right.
So that's been I think it's been a pretty good year of Tekken. There are people who would disagree.
Yes.
There are people who are currently not having the best time with the game. I'm you being the front. You randomly became that guy for like the Tekken content, right? Like you popped up as like the guy to go to, right? So you've kind of been on the front lines of like Tekken hate, not just the thing we talked about earlier where people were hating on you for the stage, but like just the game state in general. People are, they're playing online, they're not having the best time. They're, they're getting cooked by some stuff. The top players are telling them the characters are broken. Like, how do you feel kind of about like, I guess the state of the community in general, I guess, like how they're feeling about this game?
So yeah, that's a fantastic question. I actively have spent a lot of time trying to dial in on the fans, the really quiet fans who kind of like the game. They see a lot of nonsense and they're like patient enough to not feel like they have to respond. but are probably still affected, right? And in recent like probings of the community, I've gotten the sense that they are affected. Not to mention the people loosely interested in Tekken who get actively turned off by the negativity, right?
Mhm.
That to me is also a very big deal.
Mhm.
I would say that there's a section of there's a weird becoming the face of Tekken more or less for content has had some weird consequences as I peered into Reddit. There are people who hate me, and then there are people who hate any reference to me because somebody will say like, check out this video, this is the argument, and they'll say, oh, you can't make an opinion for yourself, typical PhiDX viewer. I was like, damn. I was like, wow. And then I also went into the regular like Tekken Zaibatsu and then the Tekken 8 community Discord, and there are mixed bags of haters there. One of them is really funny. He's a mod, and he just says, oh, I'm a hater. I don't actually hate him, but I'm a hater. like he had to clarify, like it's not that serious, but fuck that guy. I was like, okay. So it feels like I am. This is so specific to me. It feels like I am the presence that is people's entertainment, whether it's positive entertainment, whether it's they're bored and feel like they need to hate on me, whether it's scapegoating. I feel like I'm all of that. In terms of the like health of the community, I ran a very non-scientific poll on my
non-scientific at all. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely no scientific basis, but it was a poll because I was curious. On my YouTube, I got 16K votes. I wrote, I like playing Tekken 8, and 73% agreed and 9% disagreed. 17% said see results. So in addition to the Twitter poll, which I think was closer to 68% agree, I get the sense that the negative voices are super, super loud. But based on the health of my Discord, people running sets constantly, Landon jumping in there, Tony jumping in there to coach people and kind of run sets with them too, I really do get the sense that this, whether it's Tekken 8 specifically, whether it's just a brand new, fresh, graphically updated Tekken, whether it's a crossplay Tekken, people do like the process of getting better in this game. And when it comes to, I think, combating the negativity, I really try to lock into that. It's hard seeing my numbers go down, seeing engagement go down, seeing negative reviews, getting direct hate, but I try to lock in on those people who I think are still getting a lot out of it. I have a huge negativity bias brain, and a funny experience I had on stream is I did a one-time like, okay, guys, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to read some negative comments and see how I feel. And I caught myself, when I was showing other people, I grasped how few the negative comments were relative to the positive one.
Right.
So that experience, seeing my Discord, seeing these very non-scientific polls, I felt a lot better about, I think people do like Tekken 8. We're just in a natural dip because it's a fighting game after, 8 to 12 months.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I don't expect you to fully have like the numbers on like who is playing the game and like how strong the community is going to be, but the way you say that like you're focusing on the positive and the people who are sticking with the game, right? That's kind of been my approach. I have a lot of thoughts on I have a lot of thoughts on the current like vibe. Allow me to ramble for a second, right?
Yeah.
we are in a online gaming community, and that's new. That's new.
New for fighting, new for Tekken.
New for Tekken, yeah. So that's the part that's hard to understand. That's hard to kind of wrap my mind around, right? We a long time ago, fighting games were, well, not that long ago, but a while ago, fighting games were a bit separate from how other online gaming communities work, right? Where in other online gaming communities, you would download a game, you'd play it online, you'd post on some forums, maybe you'd make some content or you'd consume some content, and that would make you part of the community, right?
Right.
With fighting games, community was the people you would see in person, right? You
Right.
would go out and you would dap some people up. You would grind this game together, right? You spend all your time like figuring it out. You'd go home, you type online, and whatever online, every fighting game had their own form. Tekken had Tekken Zaibatsu. There was Shoryuken for like the Capcom games. There was Test Your Mind for Mortal Kombat. So you go and you type on these forums, and the people you're typing on forums to were other people who were also grinding the game, and you'd either see them in person or you see them in person eventually, right? There's
Right.
people who are out there training over there doing the same thing you're doing, and that was kind of the thing that connected. So the fighting game community was a group of people that weren't just connected by the fact that they owned a game, an online game, but connected by the fact that they were constantly grinding the game. That they all kind of appreciated what that time on the game meant, right? And
I feel
go ahead.
like contact was assumed or inevitable, right?
Yeah,
Like there was
yeah,
no, you're just somebody. It's like, oh, you're this dude, and like you might exchange information, and then you meet up in person. You're like, hey, I remember we talked about this, we talked about that.
yeah. It'd be like, oh, I'm this dude from the forum, like,
Yeah.
um, and of course there were still, there were still randoms that would pop up, but it was much harder. Randoms were less common occurrence, right? If it was someone random, it was someone random that like you didn't know, but he played up in like some state you don't go to, or he goes to their locals, But
Right.
you assume, he was a fighting game grinder. He was one of the,
Right.
and that kind of connection, that kind of passion for the game turned people into TOs. It turned people into commentators. It turned people, even still, they're not playing to be the best. They still have that kind of appreciation for the fighting games, and that was kind of the community bond. Now we're in this weird limbo where a lot of people are kind of like observers of what we would call that old community, right?
Right. Yes.
But and so in my mind, those people are, not the community. Of course they are, right? And by current definition,
Right.
they are the community.
But they don't fit the
part,
traditional concept of
yeah,
FGC, the C.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And when I look at it like that, that is where a lot of the most hate spewing comes from,
Yes.
right? Um, the people who are solely connected to this by on being online and having access to Steam and YouTube,
Yes.
right? And those dudes come and they type hate comments to PhiDX, right? Those dudes come and they call people shills, or they say like, oh, this guy, they downplay Dragunov for no reason.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they're throwing hate at the pro players, telling me to learn the matchup. You know what I mean? Like, like those are like it's those guys that kind of like lack that general appreciation for the game.
Right.
So what I've been kind of doing on my end of it is I've been spending my time, kind of just being in my own little lane. I stream, have some fun, talk, make jokes and all that stuff about the game. And I try to identify the people who would fit the bar of that old community more
Right.
than, what I just said. They're a little bit deeper involved. They kind of have a deeper appreciation for the game. I try to get them involved, because if, the people who are kind of not connected to this game and they're spewing all that hate, they're gonna move on eventually.
Yeah.
Right? They at a certain point, they're gonna get bored of getting cooked online. They're gonna rage quit their way to God of Destruction. You know what I mean? Like then they're gonna uninstall the game. At a certain point, the people who kind of don't have that passion that connects fighting gamers will move on, and what will be left is the community that we cultivate.
Yes.
So I've kind of been focused on that. And so sometimes it's jarring to me, because there's no form to meet. There's no internet form to meet those people anymore, right? Before there was Tekken Zaibatsu, you would just go there, and that's what you would see. That was the demographic,
And
then
it kind of, I think the non-immediate accessibility of it kind of acted as a filter, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a gatekeep of its own, right?
If you cared enough to get on there.
Yeah, if you cared enough to go to Tekken's, like look up Tekken, look up where you can find a guide, see the forum, and then sign up for the forum and start posting, right? It was a bit of a gatekeep already. There were still some online weirdos like yeah. Let me I was no need to drop names, but there were some online weirdos, but those guys got made fun of and we just completely forgot about them, right? And then around my era, right, like a little bit like in the middle of my era, the transition to Facebook happened fully. People were in Facebook groups, and it was a little bit more with randoms, but it still was people who were generally more passionate enough about the game to at least hit like a Tekken Academy, like Core Tekken Academy or the Tekken online matchmaking. They would get a bit involved, like talking to people. They were names you'd recognize. You might eventually see them at a local, right? Like your boy Tiger Mask started off as a Facebook monster, and then he popped out online or offline. And then now we're at this Twitter era, right? Where when you post when you interact with people on there, you're not interacting with anyone besides like some random dude who has a Twitter account, right? Like it's anybody. It could be anybody. It could be someone who doesn't even know what the FGC is. They just have Tekken on their computer.
Yeah.
And so
they couldn't even not have Tekken. I got a comment saying I was a paid shill. This is from a guy who was formerly a fan, very vocal fan, asked how old I was. That was interesting. And then I put out the poll about I like Tekken 8, and he said, "Don't have the game and never will buy it." I said, okay. So they might not even play the game.
yeah, exactly, right? So it's there's no place to go where you are guaranteed to interact with that type of community. So I think kind of investing the best effort we have in cultivating that community is probably the best thing we can do for the health of the game. And eventually, as you weather the storm and as Namco patches the game and people who hate the game get bored and pros they get complaint fatigue and they just stop complaining even though they still are mad they're losing or they're not winning as hard as they'd like to be, then we'll probably see things in a better state, and we'll enjoy what's left. I think that's the goal.
I'm holding out. I remember there was a blue sky. What do you call it? A blue sky tweet? What is that? What do you call it?
I don't know. I've seen them call it. I've seen them called skeets, which I don't use myself.
That's
but
vile.
If that's what you want to do, I just call them blue sky posts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Post on Blue Sky, I was like, so what is the typical lifespan of it? Because I was talking to Landon, I was talking to Max, and they said this happens every game. And I'm like, cool, great. We have a prognosis. What's the prognosis? You were like 2 to 3 years. I'm like, fuck, that's a long time, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it takes a while. Okay, it takes a while because people, so you've never been through this. I've been through this.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean like the part where you hate the game. Okay, because Tekken 7 came out. That game I did not like. So it takes a long time to understand if first you think the game's bad.
Right.
And then you're like, well, no, hold on. What if the game's not bad? What if I just don't understand what's going on?
Right.
And then you're having this battle with yourself, right? That battle could go on forever, however long you're willing to invest into it, right? Like, what if it's actually what if I'm just the problem?
Right. Do you think most people go through that process, or was that just you?
It varies depending on how invested the person is into the game.
Right.
And then there's going to be this period of I'm so right, this game is ass. Right. And then then they do this thing where they post online and they try to get everyone to hate on the game too and whatever.
See,
And
I feel
then,
like we jumped to
okay,
that part regardless of the fact check. Anyways, please continue.
I think, yeah, maybe, you know, some people that have these phases last at different lengths for different people, but then then you had to just go through the process of recognizing that maybe the game is just not for you,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the whole process of letting go. It's really loud. It's really angry.
Stages of
Um,
grief.
yeah, exactly, and then eventually they let go, and also the game gets patched. So
Yes.
they have even less valid complaints. The things they were complaining about disappear, but they still don't like the game.
I see. I
And
see.
it's like I'm finding new things to complain about. Maybe I'm just not enjoying it myself.
Is
And then
there
they
an
let
element
it go.
too of like new games coming out distracting people, or do they come back to be like, yeah, this still sucks? Like,
I think I don't know what those people do. Hopefully they go to the gym. hopefully they go better their lives or something. I don't know. I moved to California, started working out, got a job at a startup. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, fuck Tekken 7, and I went to go like better my life. I hope that's what those people do who are really angry at the game. Um, but who knows? Some people, they'll just find a new game to go be miserable at. There's a lot of people who are trained to be upset at things right now in like the current era of like internet and social media.
right.
Um, right, like they're people are being told it's okay to just be like mad with no thought to it, and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm justified in my anger, not realizing that the anger itself is like what's making them feel bad.
Right.
um so they'll probably move on to go be mad at something else. They'll go complain about a new game, probably some games they don't even play that much, right? And then they're like, wow, I can't believe every game sucks, and then they do something. They just, I don't know what those people do. So they won't get over it, but then some people will, you know, they'll move on.
Or there's hope. It'll just take a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, you know, you know, give it some time and
Yeah.
see what the future holds. All that we can do right now is what we can, which is enjoy our time on the game with the people who are also enjoying the time on the.
Yeah. You know, I vibe with that, and I think that I talked earlier about trying to lock in on the people who do enjoy the game. I felt like eventually by even spending an ounce of energy on the people who are hating, I was doing a disservice to the people who were trying to enjoy. Right? Like preserving my energy to make sure I can continue providing content, education, and just like good vibes to the people who are care enough to stick around, no matter how quiet they are, is give me a renewed sense of energy of like I am caught in this inevitable cycle, this inevitable downswing. There is a productive way to go about it, and it feels more positive in general, even if it is a bit more tiring in this current time. So that's given me a bit more motivation to keep it up.
Yeah, you're the fucking content go. You're the fucking you're a fucking content fiend right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you just keep it going, then eventually people will get bored of being mad, and then new people who are like here to have fun will be here, and then you'll be like you'll. I find myself talking to people when I'm coaching, and I'm like, yeah. So when you start Tekken, they're like, yeah, Tekken 7. I'm like, what, like early Tekken 7? They're like, no, like season 3, season 4. I'm like, what? There were still people picking up the game then?
Yeah.
Right?
I think Sin, the Yoshimitsu player, picked up the game when Lydia came out.
Sin? Really? That's actually impressive.
Yeah. No, I thought so too. And he said, yeah, it's really cool. I want them to nerf Yoshi because I want to prove I'm the best. I'm like, that is a fire attitude. Like, that's really cool. Young kids, man.
They're different out here, man. So I look forward to players like Sin, right? Like developing and then like becoming like the goats.
Yeah.
And then also he'll be fighting some dude who picked up the game in Tekken 8 season 2.5. and and that guy will have never known how much people were complaining about release Dragunov and all that stuff,
right?
Because that guy picked up the game in Tekken 8 season 2.5, and that's you got to build the community for those people so we can have a good time in those times.
Yeah, I fuck with that. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think, how long have we been talking?
We've been talking for 53 minutes.
About 53 minutes. You know what? That's a solid first episode.
It is.
Okay. We did a whole lot of chatting. And Bertha, do you have any closing remarks?
Closing remarks.
Closing remarks. Yeah, but say something to the beautiful people out there, man. I don't know.
The beautiful people. Well, shout outs for being beautiful. You know, I feel like that's a lot of work these days. A lot of work in general.
It is.
I think that it's cool to dig into these nerdy concepts and nerdism in general, especially coming off of a very long period of like mass appeal, right? And I think my strength will continue to be mass appealing nerdism. But it is cool to have our conversations where it gets really fucking nerdy.
Yeah, bro. That's what we're here for. We're here to be two fucking nerds chatting.
Yeah.
And then the beautiful people out there, I called you guys beautiful. You guys are also nerds. If you got to this point in the video, I just need you to know you're a fucking nerd. And we appreciate you because we're also nerds. All right. It's cool. It's like we understand you.
A bunch of 54:28 nerd emoji.
But yes, so that will conclude the first and potentially only episode of This Is Not a Podcast. The reason I call it not a podcast is because we had no real conversation topics, and I don't plan on having a schedule for doing this again. So so the second episode may or may not happen. You guys stay tuned because I don't know what I'm gonna do.
We gotta pray he gets bored enough to come up with more conversation topics.
Yeah.
Really what it is.
All right. Peace out, YouTube.
Peace out, YouTube.